Hi friends, Miss Stephanie here with an augmentation to the stretches that we call pre-splits progression or ballet floor stretch. Those are the same thing. This is for levels 3 and higher. If you are a level 3 but not a 4, 5 and higher, some of this might be new to you and you might think that's not what my pre-splits progression looks like. But after this instructional video, you will be cleared to do all of these pieces. So if you see a piece that you're like, I don't ever remember being asked to do that before, well, now you are. Now, I've got a yoga mat and I've got some yoga blocks here today. Often in my Jazz 3 class, I have talked about the use of yoga blocks for those of us who have just shorter legs or tighter hips or all those sorts of things. They really allow me to dig in to my flexibility and make big breakthroughs. These don't need to be yoga blocks, right? I bought these on Amazon, you can too. They're not very expensive, I think maybe $6 or $7 a piece perhaps, but they are after all just foam. And you could get anything else that you wanted. It could be 2 cardboard boxes. It just need to be something that you can press down on, right? It might be 2 stacks of textbooks, anything like that might be good. So we begin, I'm going to show you most of this from the side. We begin by sliding our right foot back into what is called low lunge. Okay, and you can see me walking my foot forward here because the goal of low lunge is to keep the back knee very, very straight and then press down through your groin towards the floor. But you don't want that to create a bend in your knee, because then it is not stretching what it's designed to stretch, okay, which is the front of your hip flexor. Here, you press there, and then we plant the hand and we twist, making a nice line there from fingertips of the left hand all the way down into the wrist of the right hand, okay, and then we come back. This is a place where if that hurts your wrist, you can put a yoga block down and then turn. And what that allows you to do is you can see, maybe you can't see, I better come up to the camera for this. You can put your hand on the end of the yoga block with your fingers down and then straighten your elbow from there to do work. And that creates way less pressure on your wrist than having your fingers extended flat on the ground. Okay, so if you're like, this is the same, Miss Stephanie, right? This is, but this is not the same. Huge, okay? That can be huge. So even if you're not using a yoga block, if you have wrist problems, do use something flat with an edge like that, okay? So there you are in your long lunge, and then you twisted, you came out of your twist, you're gonna put your knee down, and then we transfer back into half split. Half split is where I love my yoga blocks, because then I can square up both of my hips so that I don't have one in front of the other. They're square. I'm keeping my hips off of my heel. I'm not sitting back here with my hips on my heel. That is not effective, my friends. Okay? I have my left knee is straight, and I'm pointing my feet and reaching my foot towards the floor. You can also flex it, but we're gonna do that a little bit later, so here I like a long one. And then with my yoga blocks here, I can press and find a flat back, which is the goal of the half split. And I talk about this a lot in my classes. I do not need you to be at home hunched over here in a half split. This is not helpful. If you want to look like that when you leap, then you should stretch like that, but none of us do, right? We want to have a long neck, long back here. And see, what these yoga blocks allow me to do is now I can anchor myself for balance, and then I can use my muscles to press down into that. And then as I get better at it, I can go to this side of the yoga block, which is a little bit shorter, but still has support. So that's pretty challenging for me. That's about how far I can go. But then also I can flip it one more time. As I go along, you see I'm still not on the floor, but I'm getting closer and closer. That's the loveliness of a yoga block. And then I can come down here. Normally we ask you not to tent your fingers, which is what I'm doing here. But in this stretch, you may do that because you're not doing a weight, you're not putting any weight on your hands. Okay, and then eventually you'll get to a place where you can put your hands flat on the floor, but have a flat back. I don't have that in my practice, so I'm coming back here. Here's your half split, okay? Then you're gonna walk forward here, and normally we then walk out into lizard pose or half pigeon. But I want you to add something here, and it is something I can't believe I've forgotten this one, it's so good. With your knee, your back knee on the ground, and your front knee over your heel, I want you to sit up tall, put your hands on your knee, and again, press down into that groin there, okay? I'm still completely in parallel. Here, nothing's turned out. I'm gonna press down deeply into that. Oh, so good for us. All right, now I'm gonna come back up out of that so that I can, now I'm gonna turn and face you for this next part so that I can remind you after you've pressed forward there, that isolates the shorter portions of your quadricep because your knee isn't involved. Then you can bring your weight forward and you walk your foot out so it's no longer in line with your hip, it's more open. Okay? And you can also rock to the blade of your foot if you want to, or you can keep the foot flat on the ground. Okay? Normally this rocked out place is like an anti-dance place, but it creates more space in your hip, which is the goal of this stretch. Okay? And then again, if you have tight hips, you might use your yoga blocks to be up here. Lots of you can come down onto your forearms in this position, and if you can, that's great. The goal is to let this left hip open as much as you can allow it to do so, and then you're pressing the front of the right hip down towards the ground with a goal of eventually getting it on the ground. Oh, yes, okay. Then you can come up out of that. Make sure that you walk this foot back so that the foot and knee are in line with that hip. And now I'm going to go back to a side view for this, the other augmentation that I want to add to you. So coming out of that half pigeon or lizard pose that you were just in, you flex your toes and come back into what is called pyramid pose or triangle pose in yoga. And that is with all 10 of my toes are all pointing to, I'm at Mill Street, this is the stage left over here. Both of my knees are straight and my back is flat. So again, now I'm gonna use my yoga blocks or whatever I've got with me for support to support long out there. Very, very, very parallel. I just caught my back leg trying to turn out, but I want you to be very, very parallel. You hold that, now you can see that you're like, oh, I see, triangle pose, I got it, okay? Then you bring the right foot underneath you, that back foot underneath you a bit more, and bend your knee, flex back. See, I told you we flex. Can you see my left leg in front is flexed and it's parallel? And then you stand up out of that, step back, hip pyramid. This you can do on a count. You can breathe in pyramid, out, and then in again, and out, and then step in, plie, pull back, still maintaining that flat back. This is so intense in the left hamstring, it defies description, okay? And then back into pyramid, finding that pyramid, locking it all up, not locking it all up, lining it all up, squaring up your hips each time, making sure that you're actually in parallel. This gives me a really deep stretch in my calf. If it doesn't for you, your pyramid is probably too narrow. Gotta bring it out more, okay? Using your flat back. Even though I'm putting some of my weight on my yoga blocks, I am still keeping my abdominal muscles engaged. So 2 breaths in pyramid and then 2 breaths in the flex. Okay, you do that 4 times and then you step in again and you turn in the foot as you flex it and bring it in. My right leg is still in parallel. Let me turn around and show you that from the front so you can see which way I'm doing my leg. So I'm stepping back, resting back, and then I'm turning it inward. Can you see that? That's center, outward, which you're right, we're gonna do in a minute. Inward, inward, same place, pull back. and then forward for pyramid. 2 breaths in the pull, inward rotation. 2 breaths in pyramid, 4 times. And then, you guessed it, 2 breaths in the pull, outward rotation, really squeezing back through here in your rotators. And forward to counts. Pyramid or triangle pose never changes, okay? Always in parallel, always in parallel. And then back, outward, okay? So 4 regular, as my Ruby would say, 4 with inward rotation and 4 with outward rotation. You come back into that last pyramid pose, having done all of that work. And you've got to come back down, flexing the toes and sliding down into this kneeling position here. Now, this one is especially challenging for some of our students. And it is the one where we bend here and then you reach for the toes of that leg, okay? And I feel you. I used to not be able to do this at all. The first step to doing this is, can you see me rocking a bit on my right knee? I am not really on my kneecap. If I was back here with weight and rocking, that's really bad for me. I've got almost all of my weight in my left leg. And what I'm doing is I'm finding there's a little separation between the top of your kneecap and the end of your quadricep. Okay, and then there's like a little ditch there. We want to catch that on the floor and hold it steady so that then we can stretch away from it. It feels glorious to stretch that part of your quadricep because we're usually stretching the belly when we do these other stretches where we hold a foot behind us and all those sorts of things. And it feels a little bit like when you create traction in your neck and you lift all of that up to create space. And that is the first step here, is to try and find that. So don't even worry about lifting your leg off first. First find that, because actually when I find it, then I can put that in place and then I can pull forward on my leg and I can feel that deep stretch in the bottom of my quadricep, right above where it joins the knee. Then I can keep that going by bending my knee. And part of the reason I can bend my knee is because I'm not back here on my kneecap. If you are on your kneecap with your weight and then you try and bend it, of course you can't do that. That's silly. Press your weight forward, get most of your weight in your front leg. Get onto what we call the base of the quadricep and then rotate up. And then you can reach here. If you can hold it, pull it toward you for a really deep stretch. If not, this is still a great stretch. And you should still try and twist into it because again, it creates more stretch in the quadricep. And then you come out of that. You come back up to here and putting you back in where you go here. And then you're down and forward fold. I can still use my blocks there if I want to, or I can put my hands directly on the ground. You pedal that out and then roll it up. And then you're ready to start on the other side. So the new combination is in shorthand. Now I'm going to give you the whole order. I was giving you instructions throughout, so you might be like, what is the order now? The order is down into low lunge, like usual, right? Then peel, up, and return. Press the knee down, and back into half split. Lovely half split. Forward, sit up tall, pressing back. This is another thing, pressing my groin into the floor, making a long diagonal with this leg. I shouldn't be back here. That's released, that's not stretched out. This is stretched out. You bring your hands forward. You walk out to that half pigeon. Come forward onto your elbows. If you're your forearms, if you can do that. Walk it back. Flex your left. In this case, these are my left toes. Flex your toes. Find this long lunge. And then bring it up to pyramid pose. Pyramid pose. Flat back. Long straight knees in parallel. And you are 2 breaths here. Bring that back foot in a bit. Plie, flex, and pull. 2 breaths here. Find pyramid. You do that 4 times. Then you do 4 times with inward rotation. Just inward rotation of, in this case, my right leg, the working leg. Okay, keep the leg that's opening, that's coming in and stepping out. Keep it in parallel the whole time. So 4 with inward rotation and 4 with outward rotation, pulling back along the whole length of that leg. Center. Ooh, coming back down again into low lunge. Oh, there it is. I've forgotten something. Hang on, for kind of kids. Oh, place the knee. That's right. Groin forward. Bend this knee. Reach for it. Twist, even like me, if you can't reach your toes, twist. Return. Low lunge. Forward fold. Again, pedaling. Bend your knees and roll up. So that is the new floor stretch. Each of those positions you should stay in for at least 30 seconds or 8 breaths with the omission of this pyramid, flex, pyramid stuff that has its own breath control for it. Okay? And then after that, you would do your splits and your center, what is that video called? Seated second stretches, I think is what it's called. Okay. Thanks, friends. Happy stretching.